Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of That's What P said. My name is Petros and I will be your host for today. I truly appreciate everyone, and I mean everyone, who takes some time to listen to any of the episodes. It means a lot, and if you enjoy any of it, follow this podcast on Spotify. We're now on Apple Podcasts as well, or subscribe to the YouTube channel and drop a like. My goal is to help and educate as many people as possible, but I cannot do it without your help. So please share it. With that being said, let's get straight into it and address today's question: is turning pro worth it? First of all, before I start getting into it, I just want to take this moment and tell you all how much I love tennis. Tennis has given me the opportunity to see the world with a different perspective. It has shown me how to respect and how to be respected. It has shown me how to lead and how to be a leader. It has shown me how to win and how to be defeated. There is so much more to this than just playing the sport. Being a professional athlete has consequences, risks, sacrifices, but that should be nothing new to anyone. Any path anyone takes has consequences, risks, and sacrifices, but some more than others. Which other professions, honestly, allow you the opportunity to travel the world, and I literally mean the world, meet new people almost every single week, get out of your comfort zone and play the game of tennis, which is so fun? Not many, I can tell you that. Now, putting all that aside, today I will try to make sure I cover everything regarding turning professional or not, and maybe other alternatives for players who cannot make it. Now, turning professional is a risk. Nobody will ever deny that. Ever. I mean, it is a risk because of so many reasons, but today we might be able to just go through just a few reasons. But, some of the questions you want to ask yourself is, when do you turn pro? Do you turn pro at like 14? Do you turn pro at 18? Do you finish high school, then you go pro? Do you go to college, then you go pro? So many questions. Every time I speak with players, especially, they put turning professional on a pedestal, and they think that is the end goal, to become pro and say you're a pro, and it gives them some kind of identity. You're not like the rest. You're playing a professional sport, which is great. Not many people can do that. It's a minority that choose the path of turning professional. But again, it comes with a risk. And the risks sometimes, depending on how good you are and if you're in position to go pro, sometimes the risks are not worth taking. We'll get into that a little bit later, but school is a big obstacle. Do you go to school and then turn pro? If you do go to school, however, you will lose so many hours on court, which you can be on court instead of going to school. All these guys that you've seen kind of exploding in the next generation of players, meaning Zverev, Kyrgios, Tsitsipas. I'm not sure they've done a lot of school, if any school. But the stupidest argument ever is Kyrgios did that. Kyrgios is this way. Kyrgios did it that way. Tsitsipas did it this way. Tsitsipas didn't go to school. Look at Zverev. Look at that. Listen. Not everyone is like them. They are the vast minority. And the argument of I'm gonna do it like they did it is so stupid, because they did it because of so many other reasons. Not everyone is in the same boat. Please stop generalizing that the only way to become a pro is by going at it full time from a young age like they did, and they did not go to school. That is not true, and there are so many examples to disprove it. So many people at least went to high school, finished high school, and then went pro. So many players went to high school, then college, then became pro. Some players, yes, did not go to school and became pro, but you know what? So many more did not go to school and didn't make it in the pros. Didn't make $1. Now, I understand it's, That's a little bit more complicated because not everyone who goes pro makes it. That's very understandable. But the point is, you don't have to miss out on school in order to become a professional. People who did not go to school either wanted to be like, if you know you're going to be a pro since 2 years old, that's good for you. Highly doubt it, but there's also pressure from parents that want that. I speak to parents all the time and they say that the kid isn't going to school because they want to become pros. I take a look at that kid's level and it's so painful. It is so painful that the kid had to go through their parents' dream and vision instead of their own. That kid might not even be ready. They might not want to go pro, and they might not be good enough to do that either. And after those kinds of conversations, how do I politely tell them that they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about? It's sad. It is very sad. Now, is turning pro worth it? Before answering this, we must define our terms. Being professional for me comes with some standards, and I will explain why. Having only one ATP point after playing 6 months does not mean you're a professional. Having played for 3 years and reached as high as 1,000 is not being professional. What it means is that you played the game you love for a while, but you were not good enough for it. And there is nothing wrong with that. We do shit every day we're not good at. And we either end up quitting or get better at it. The reason I'm trying to define the term professional is very important. It is because of the countless times a player came to me and asked me, "Why did you go to college yourself?" My first response was because of financial reasons, mainly, but also because I was not ready or good enough at the time. I knew I wasn't ready. I was 18, I was young and stupid and did not know better. I doubt that I could carry myself on court and play full time and not experience life and go through shit before I become a pro. Like, that is very important, and I see that all the time with the professionals, with the next generation. I understand that some of them are 20, 21, 22, a bunch of kids, but some of the shit they're doing is stupid. And a part of that is because they didn't go through life like the rest. Like, going to college and going through shit puts you in perspective. Like, it just changes your perspective about people, about life. Now, I understand not everyone is perfect, but I'm just giving you an example of how important sometimes school is. Even if you don't think you want to go to school, it is important to go, I think, but that's just my opinion. And then they go on a rant about how being a professional is so much better, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we've heard it. Having gone through the professional route a little bit before going to study, I knew that it sucked. Especially being ranked 1,000 in the world, playing futures in the middle of nowhere with 3 people watching. So no, being a pro does not mean having 1 ATP point. My standards won't accept that. Having said that though, and I think if you have the right tools and the right level, turning pro and playing it full time for some time is 150% worth it. Don't get me wrong. Again, not everyone can become a professional, and not everyone should. Not everyone is wired or developed to become a professional. Does that mean not try it out? Absolutely not. It's better to try it and not succeed rather than not trying at all. But obviously, do not waste your money, time, and effort if you have no chance, unless you have money to spare. And if you do have money to spare today, you're probably in the vast minority of the world. So I wish you all the best. But not everyone's like that. I highly doubt that if we ask any, and I mean any of the top 100 guys, if all this was worth it, that they will say it wasn't. And I mean their careers right now. However, maybe when they're 50 years old, the answers will change. The most important question though is, did the guys that never made it in the top 200, top 300 regret their decision? I want to remind you that the players ranked outside the top 100 but are very close or even higher at 300 have the level to become top 100. I believe that to the fullest. extent. Not everyone, of course, because not everyone becomes top 100. But my point is, some of these guys will retire one day without being in the spotlight. There's some guy right now, 174, just a random number. The guy's level is so good, but because of so many reasons, he might never make it to the top 100, which is sad. But they will leave the game of tennis, and not many people will acknowledge how good they were. But that goes with every sport, not just tennis. My point is that those are the players we need to ask, because it is important to see their perspective. Now, player representation hasn't been, incredibly good in the ATP and ITF. You only know what the big guys want to say. Novak, Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer. We know these guys. But have you ever heard anything whatsoever from a guy ranked in the top 250? The guy that's playing qualities of slams but can't really make it in the big leagues. But his level is good enough to be in the top 100. He just never had the chance. And if he keeps trying and trying and trying, one day he might be able to, but he might not. And that guy might retire, and you'll never be able to hear from him. Now, if you're a true tennis fan, you know maybe more players than just in the top 100, but you're the minority, All the players, if you ask any random person in the street, do you know Roger Federer? They will say yes, because the guy is an icon, but that guy is just, he's a different animal. He's a unicorn. So, now, if you ask me that question, if you ask me, was everything worth it so far? I will tell you, absolutely. I am not done, of course. My personal goal is to become top 100 and be the best I can be. The best I can be might even be 70 in the world, 170, 270, but that is irrelevant. The end goal for me is to be top 100, and even if I don't get there, the whole ride since the beginning was definitely worth it. I really want this episode to be a learning opportunity for young kids, simply because I do not want them to idolize the players at the top for the wrong reasons. I don't want kids to start tennis and think about the money, the fame, the attention, and everything in between. Those are definitely sweet and needed at times, but it comes with the spotlight. But what's really important about a lot of these players is their ability to stay humble, stay hungry, and be respectful along the way. Not all players are like this, but the ones who are, I can guarantee you, and I mean guarantee you, that they stand out to everyone. It is not a coincidence that Roger Federer is, if not the most, one of the most respected sports icons of all time, while being the best tennis player that ever lived. And don't worry, I will do another episode discussing who the top tennis players of all times are, but that's for a different day. Now, Federer carries himself with class on the court and better off the court as well. Does he have his moments? Of course. Does he get pissed? Of course. Does he break rackets and loses his cool sometimes? Of course, we all do. One of the biggest reasons why he's respected is because of how good he is, but that's irrelevant. I know so many players that are not the best or will ever be the best, but their weapon is how respected they are in their field, and that's not just for sports. College tennis was a great example of how teams that were great rivals and supposedly disliked each other had players on that team that were highly respected, and I do think that that is the most important thing at the end of the day. Winning is important, the most important thing for me, but there is also a way to go about it. I do hope that parents teach their kids that winning is important. Coming last is not an accomplishment, it is a failure. But it's okay, you will have more of those. Everyone will. The question is, what will you do about it? Sports are not easy. It would be much easier and comfortable for me, and I bet anyone, to quit tennis right now and go get a job. I am not saying I do not have a comfortable life. My life is a blessing, and I wish everyone had my life. But knowing how hard it is to see things as they are sometimes, kids struggle to find the right motivation to do anything. If you're someone who struggles with motivation, fear of failure, please shoot me a message or email. I would love to help you. I have been there, and I know a lot of you are. Even people I know today and they seem that they got everything figured out. I am telling you, you don't have to have everything figured out. And please don't hesitate to contact me for any help you need. And on that note, this episode has come to an end. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. And don't forget to share it with the rest of the world. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. When I go to these futures and I see people in their late 20s and early 30s trying to compete for like 1 point, it's sometimes frustrating, I have to admit. The reason is because I don't think that what they're doing is bad in any way or a waste of their time, but I do think though that most of the time they are doing it because they know nothing else. The only thing they know is tennis, and if they quit, the only alternative to that is probably tennis coaching. If you have the funds to go study yourself right after you quit tennis, that is great. But I know that most of the players are not quitting because they can somehow find a way to sustain themselves while playing futures. Now, I understand that playing tennis and becoming professional was their dream, but sometimes it's not worth it. Not because you shouldn't be doing what you love and what you really want, but because if you expanded your horizons and learned new skills or surrounded yourself with successful people, you might find out that you are amazing at something else, and you are essentially wasting valuable time. The worst part of this is that when you're actually going through this, you know that you cannot stop because there's no other alternative for you. That is another important risk with turning professional. Do you actually know if this will be worth it in the end? Will you be successful? No, you don't. Nobody does. That's the risk you're taking. When I was 18 or 19, I had to make a choice. Turn professional right away or go to college first and then turn professional. There are obviously advantages and disadvantages with each decision, but there are also calculated risks I was able to measure and see which one was kind of better at the time. Now, if I turned professional right away at 18, 19, I was going to lose the ability to study for free at a world-class institution, which was Wake Forest. Also, I had to go out of my way to find some financial support to keep my tennis funded, because unfortunately it is an expensive sport, as you all know, and I didn't want to put the burden on my parents to try and find money and take some money out of the bank for me to play tennis. I would not accept that in any way. Also, I would miss out on so many fun years of college and experiences that no sport could probably provide me. To sum it all up, I wouldn't have a college degree. 1, I would be broke until I made it into the top 100. 2, and finally I would miss out on all the fun. Now, I'm kind of putting a general comment to this, but I did go to college before turning pro, and now I have a college degree, and I made so many connections and met some of the most incredible people in my life. On top of that, I met my beautiful girlfriend there, and she has been a rock next to me since, and I made the best friends I could ask for, and they're all my friends today, even 2 years after graduating. So that should tell you something. All of this with one simple calculated decision, and now I'm 24, hopefully more mature, a better player, fitter to play the game, and ready to take on the tour. And the best part of all this, I reached my highest ever ranking. Not before going to school, not after going to school, or at least not yet, but during my sophomore or junior year in college, which means that you can still play professional while you're studying. So where exactly is the loss in this? Obviously, if you have the level and if you have the money and have a good team, go ahead and attack the tour right away. But if not, please think twice before turning professional.